Listen, life will test you. Not once, not twice, but every single day. People will push your buttons, situations will knock on your door uninvited, and emotions will rise up like a storm, trying to take control. But here's the truth. Your emotions don't define you. Your response does. And the day you learn to control that response, that's the day you stop surviving and start leading your life like a pro. When life hits you with something unexpected, the first thing your emotions want to do is jump. They want to take the wheel, slam their foot on the gas, and drive you straight into a reaction you'll regret. And most people, they let it happen. They fire back, they explode, they shut down, they say words you can't unsay. But the people who truly rise in life, those who move with strength, calm, and clarity, they all share one thing: they know how to pause. That pause, that little moment between what happened and what you choose to do next, that's the difference between living in chaos and living with control. It's small, but powerful. It's quiet, but life-changing. And it's available to any time, anywhere, no matter who you are or what you're going through. People think strength is loud. They think it's about shouting the loudest or reacting the fastest. But real strength,
Real power.
it's silent. It's the ability to hold yourself still when your emotions are trying to pull you in every direction. It's the ability to breathe when everything inside you wants to burst. It's the confidence to say to yourself, I'll respond when I'm ready, not when I'm triggered. See, when you pause, you create space. Space for your mind to catch up, space for your emotions to settle, space for your logic to step forward and say, let me handle this. Most people never give themselves that space. They feel something and they fire. They get offended and they attack. They hear one thing and they assume the worst. But when you start mastering the pause, you start mastering your entire emotional world. That pause is not weakness. It is not hesitation. It is not fear. It is the mark of someone who refuses to let the world dictate their behavior. It is the mark of someone who knows they don't have to meet every situation at the same level it arrives. If disrespect comes, you don't meet it with disrespect. If anger comes, you don't meet it with anger. You rise above it because your pause gives you access to a higher version of yourself. And it's funny, when you start using that pause, you'll realize something. Most situations aren't as serious as they feel in the moment. Most arguments don't deserve the energy we give them. Most people who try to pull you into negativity, they're only successful because you didn't pause long enough to realize you don't have to join them. You don't have to match their chaos. You don't have to meet their storm. You can stay calm, collected, and in control. But understand this, pausing doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. No. It means you allow yourself to feel them without letting them command you. You can be upset and still be composed. You can be disappointed and still be thoughtful. You can be hurt and still be wise. The pause gives you that power. It turns emotional energy into emotional intelligence. And the beauty of it is, you can train it. You don't need meditation on a mountain. You don't need a retreat. You don't need a special routine. You start right where you are. Someone says something that triggers you. Pause. Someone disrespects you. Pause. Something doesn't go your way. Your body will want to react, but your spirit knows better. Every time you choose to pause, You strengthen that muscle. You become harder to shake, harder to provoke, harder to control. The world starts noticing. People feel it. You walk differently. You speak differently. You handle pressure with a calm that makes others wonder what changed. What changed is you stopped letting the world press your buttons and you started controlling your own switch. You became the authority of your emotions because that's what the pause really is, authority. It's the moment where you decide, I control my reaction. I control my peace. I control who I become in this moment. And once you own that, nobody can drag you down into their drama. Nobody can pull you out of character. Nobody can take away your sense of control. And it starts with something as simple as, a pause. Because sometimes the strongest move you can make is to stay still. When you're trying to control your emotions like a true professional, one of the most important things you'll ever learn is this: you have to name the emotion without becoming the emotion. And that might sound simple, but it's one of the hardest skills in life because emotions are powerful. They don't knock politely. They rush in. They take over your thoughts, your tone, your breathing, your decisions. When anger shows up, it doesn't whisper. When fear arrives, it doesn't tap you on the shoulder. When insecurity creeps in, it doesn't send a polite invitation. But here's the thing: an emotion has no real power over you until you claim it as you. The moment you say, I'm angry, you become the anger. The moment you say, I'm stressed, you merge with the stress. The moment you say, I'm not good enough, you start living that lie. But when you step back and say, I'm feeling angry, the whole game changes. Suddenly, you've moved from the inside of the storm to the outside. You're looking at it, observing it. Now you have room to breathe, room to choose, room to respond. You see, when you name an emotion, you separate it from your identity. You stop tying it to who you are and start tying it to something you're simply experiencing. And everything you experience is temporary. Everything that passes through you isn't meant to define you. Emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they fade. But if you jump into the wave thinking it's your identity, you'll drown in something that was never meant to stay. The moment you label an emotion correctly, you weaken its grip. Think about it. When was the last time you got mad and didn't even realize why? When was the last time you reacted without taking 1 second to check what you were actually feeling? People go years, trapped by emotions they never took the time to understand. They fight. They push people away. They ruin opportunities. They damage relationships. All because they let emotions ride in the front seat without ever asking them where they came from. But when you learn to pause and say, hold on, what am I actually feeling right now? You step into real maturity. You step into real control. You gain a perspective most people never reach. Maybe you're not actually angry. You're hurt. Maybe you're not actually irritated. You're tired. Maybe you're not anxious. You're overwhelmed because you've been carrying too much alone. When you name the right emotion, your response becomes wiser, calmer, and more grounded. And there's something else. When you observe your emotions without becoming them, you protect people around you. Because uncontrolled emotions don't just break you. They break the people closest to you. You snap at someone who didn't deserve it. You shut down when someone needed you to open up. You walk away when you should have held on. You overreact to things that were small because something inside you felt big. But when you step outside your emotions and watch them like a calm observer, your relationships become healthier. You start listening instead of reacting. You start understanding instead of assuming. You start choosing your words with intention instead of letting your impulses speak for you. That's the difference between emotional chaos and emotional intelligence. And the truth is, most people don't do this because it requires courage. Real courage. It's easy to say, I'm angry. It's much harder to say, I'm hurt. It's easy to shout. It's harder to open your chest and admit, this affected me. But strength isn't loud. Strength isn't violent. Strength isn't emotional explosions. Strength is the ability to tell yourself the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. And once you start naming your emotions accurately, you start understanding yourself better. You become a student of your own mind. You learn your patterns, your triggers, your wounds, your strengths. You start healing things you didn't even know needed healing. And slowly, you begin responding to life with clarity instead of chaos. Because the moment you can say, this emotion is here, but it is not me, you reclaim your authority. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your ability to choose who you want to be in that moment. And that is emotional mastery. Because the moment you name the emotion, you take back the power. There comes a moment in life when you've got to decide who's really in charge, your reactions or your responses. And make no mistake, those two things are not the same. A reaction is what happens when your emotions grab the steering wheel before you even know what's going on. It's quick. It's impulsive. It's raw. It comes straight from whatever feeling is sitting in your chest in that moment. But a response is chosen. A response is intentional. A response is the product of a clear mind, not a chaotic emotion. Most people spend their entire lives reacting. Someone disrespects them, they snap back. Someone disappoints them, they shut down. Someone challenges them, they explode. They don't think, they don't breathe, they don't process. They just react. And then they wonder why their life feels unstable, why their relationships shake, why opportunities slip through their fingers. It's because reactions are reckless. They might feel good in the moment, but they cost you later. But when you reach a place in your life where you start responding, instead of reacting, everything changes. You suddenly step into a level of emotional maturity that most people never reach. You realize you don't have to meet every situation at the same level of intensity it arrives with. You don't have to raise your voice because someone else raised theirs. You don't have to lose your cool because someone else lost theirs. You don't have to take everything personally just because someone delivered it poorly. A response requires something powerful. It requires consciousness. It requires you to be aware of what's happening inside you before you let it spill out of you. And that takes practice. It takes awareness. It takes discipline. But when you get there, when you start mastering that space between what happens and how you choose to act, you become a force. Not loud, not aggressive, not intimidating. A force. Because you're no longer controlled by what's happening around you. You're controlled by who you are within. Reacting is driven by the moment. Responding is driven by your character. Anybody can react. It doesn't take strength. It doesn't take wisdom. It doesn't take control, but responding, that takes a centered mind. That takes emotional awareness. That takes someone who's not moved by every wind that blows their way. Think about it. How many times in your life have you reacted instantly, only to look back and say, I shouldn't have done that? How many times did a moment of emotion create a problem much bigger than the original situation? That's what reacting does. It turns small fires into full-grown disasters. But responding can take the heat out of a situation that was about to get out of hand. It can save a relationship that was hanging by a thread. It can prevent a mistake you can't undo. When you respond instead of react, you stop giving people the power to control you. You stop letting their tone decide your tone. You stop letting their energy shift your energy. You stop giving strangers more influence over your peace than you give yourself. Because when someone can trigger you instantly, they're the one in control, not you. And you don't want to live like that. You want to move through life with intention, not impulse. You want to speak with clarity, not chaos. You want to make decisions based on who you are, not how you feel in a heated second. Feelings come and go. They rise and fall. They shift with every situation. But your integrity, your self-control, your values, those shouldn't be temporary. Those are steady. Those are grounded. Those are the things that should guide your next move. Responding doesn't mean you're soft. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you're strategic. It means you're thoughtful. It means you're disciplined. It means you choose the outcome instead of letting the moment choose it for you. That is real strength, because anybody can throw a reaction. But only a strong, grounded person can pause, think, and deliver a response that actually serves their future. Because reacting is instinct, but responding is power. You can do all the inner work in the world. Pause, reflect, choose your response. But if you keep surrounding yourself with people who pull you back into the same chaos, you're trying to escape. You're fighting a battle with one hand tied behind your back. Your environment matters. The energy around you matters. The people around you matter. And if you're serious about controlling your emotions like a pro, then you've got to take a hard look at the space you allow yourself to live in every day. See, you don't rise above negativity by bathing in it. You don't stay calm when you're surrounded by constant noise. You don't find peace in rooms where everybody's yelling, complaining, or competing. When you walk into an environment, that environment walks into you. It gets into your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, your responses. And you may not notice it at first, but slowly it shapes you. It sets the tone for your behavior before you even say a word. Think about it. Have you ever walked into a room that felt heavy? You didn't even know why, but something felt off. That's energy. Have you ever walked into a place where you instantly loosened up, breathed easier, felt lighter? That's energy too. Your emotional state is not just something you carry inside. It's constantly interacting with the world around you. And if the people in your circle thrive on chaos, don't be surprised when you feel chaotic. If the people you hang around with live in drama, don't be shocked when life starts throwing the same patterns at you. If you stay close to those who can't control themselves, you'll find it harder to control yourself. Because emotions are contagious. Stress is contagious. Anger is contagious. Negativity is contagious. But you know what else is contagious? Peace, discipline, maturity, self-control. Your environment will either feed your emotional strength or drain it. And most people never take the time to realize they're losing control not because they're weak, but because they're surrounded by people who pull them away from strength. When you start protecting your environment, you begin to rediscover your calm. You start noticing the difference between people who add to your peace and people who disturb it. Some folks don't mean you harm. They're just living their lives in a way that doesn't support where you're trying to go. You can care for them. You can love them. But you don't have to live in their emotional world. You don't have to absorb their storms. You don't have to take on their patterns of behavior. And sometimes, protecting your environment doesn't mean cutting people off. It means setting boundaries. It means deciding how much access they get to your mind. It means choosing when to engage and when to step back. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people need to move to the balcony. Some people need to stay outside the building entirely. And let me tell you something. When you start making these choices, you're going to feel guilt because you've been taught to be available to everyone, to support everyone, to show up for everyone. But you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't build emotional control in a place where your peace is constantly under attack. You deserve environments that help you grow. You deserve people who talk to you with respect, not people who provoke you. You deserve conversations that give you clarity, not confusion. You deserve relationships that lift you, not drain you. There's a reason successful, grounded, emotionally strong people protect their circle. It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's survival. It's wisdom. It's the understanding that emotional control is not just an internal job. It's something supported by the energy you allow around you. Your environment is the soil, and you are the seed. You cannot expect to flourish in polluted soil. And as you start choosing better environments, you'll notice something powerful. You'll start thinking clearer. You'll respond smoother. Your patience will grow. Your reactions will slow. Your spirit will settle. Because peace isn't just a feeling. It's a place. It's a lifestyle. It's a choice you make every day with the people you allow in your life. The right environment makes emotional control natural. The wrong environment makes it impossible, because sometimes the most powerful move you can make is choosing where you stand and who you stand with. You don't wake up one day with perfect emotional control. You don't snap your fingers and suddenly become calm, centered, unshakable. It doesn't work like that. Emotional control isn't a talent. It's a training. It's a muscle. And just like any muscle, if you don't train it, it stays weak. If you don't work it, it collapses the moment life puts pressure on it. But when you train it, when you make your inner world a priority, you become someone who can stand strong even when everything around you is trying to break you. Most people only think about their emotions when something bad happens. They wait until they're overwhelmed, until they're stressed out, until they're angry, and then they wonder, why can't I handle this? But you can't expect strength in moments you never practiced for. You can't expect calmness in storms you never prepared for. You can't expect discipline from a mind that's never been challenged. Emotional control is built in the quiet moments, when no one's watching, in the decisions you make when your world is peaceful, not when it's chaotic. Every day, your mind is learning something. It's either learning to panic or to breathe. It's either learning to explode or to stay steady. It's either learning to run or to stand your ground. And every small habit you practice is shaping the way you'll respond when life tests you. Take something as simple as breathing. People don't realize how powerful it is. When something stresses you out, your breath is the first thing to break. It speeds up, it tightens, it pushes your body into fight or flight. But if you practice deep, intentional breathing, even just a few minutes a day, you train your mind to stay steady under pressure. You train your body to stay calm instead of crashing. You train yourself to keep control even when emotions start rising. Or journaling. Writing down what you feel doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. It forces your thoughts out of your head and onto the page where you can actually see them. You start noticing your patterns. You start recognizing your triggers. You start understanding yourself in ways you never did before. How can you control something you don't understand? Awareness is the beginning of mastery. And then there's meditation. People think meditation means sitting on a mountaintop in silence for hours. No. Meditation simply means training your mind to come back to the present moment. Because most emotional chaos comes from living in your past or fearing your future. Meditation pulls you back to the now, where you actually have power. It builds your focus. It sharpens your mind. It teaches you to observe your emotions instead of drowning in them. Even small acts, like waking up on time, drinking enough water, taking care of your space, exercising, these things matter. Not because the tasks themselves are magical, but because they teach your mind discipline. They teach consistency. They teach accountability. If you can't control the small things in your day, how will you control the big emotions in your life? Every disciplined action becomes a vote for the person you want to be. And don't forget gratitude. It sounds simple, but gratitude shifts your entire emotional state. When you take even 30 seconds to acknowledge what's good in your life, you anchor yourself. You remind yourself that the world isn't falling apart. You remind yourself that you're blessed in ways you sometimes forget. Gratitude quiets the noise inside you. It pulls your emotions back into balance. All these small practices, they add up. They become the foundation you stand on when life tries to knock you down. They become the tools you reach for when emotions try to control the moment. They become the quiet strength inside you that other people can feel, even if they don't know where it comes from. And here's the truth. Nobody can train your mind for you. Nobody can build your discipline. Nobody can strengthen your inner world. You've got to choose it for yourself, because the world will keep testing you whether you train for it or not. Life isn't going to wait for you to get stronger. So you've got to start now with what you have right where you are. Train your mind today so your emotions don't train you tomorrow. Because emotional control isn't a gift. It's a daily practice that builds the version of you the world can't shake. There comes a point where you realize something important about emotional control. You can do the inner work. You can build the habits. You can strengthen the pause. But if you keep holding on to every hurt, every mistake, every slight, every disappointment, you will never be truly free. Emotional control isn't just about managing what's happening now. It's also about releasing what's still living inside you from the past. Because you can't move gracefully through life while dragging yesterday's weight behind you. At some point, you have to let go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean the situation was okay. It simply means you've decided not to let it run your life anymore. Some people cling to their pain like it's a part of their identity. They replay old conversations, old betrayals, old regrets. They rehearse the hurt so many times that it becomes familiar, comfortable even. But familiar pain is still pain. And if you keep feeding it, it will keep ruling you. A lot of emotional chaos comes from holding on to something that should have been released long ago. Someone said something years ago, and you're still carrying the echo of their words. Someone walked away, and you're still blaming yourself for it. Someone did you wrong, and you're still replaying the moment, trying to change it in your head. But holding on doesn't heal you. It traps you. It keeps you emotionally stuck in a place you've already outgrown. Letting go is choosing peace over pride. It's choosing growth over grudges. It's choosing your future over your past. And sometimes, the hardest thing to let go of isn't another person. It's the version of yourself that reacted a certain way, believed certain things, or accepted less than you deserved. You've got to release the old you to make space for the you that's capable of real emotional strength. We don't talk about this enough, but sometimes letting go also means forgiving yourself. You made mistakes. You trusted the wrong people. You stayed where you should have walked away. You reacted when you should have paused. You lost control when you should have held steady. But that doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. You cannot grow if you keep punishing yourself for who you used to be. You have to give yourself the same grace you'd give someone you love. And sometimes letting go means forgiving people who will never apologize, who will never understand the damage they caused, who will never see your side. But forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. It's freeing yourself from the emotional tie that keeps pulling you back into that moment. You don't forgive to fix the past. You forgive to protect your peace now. Letting go also means releasing control. You can't control how people behave. You can't control how they think. You can't control what they say about you when you're not around. You're not around. You can't control the outcomes of every situation. The more you try to control what's outside you, the more emotionally unstable you become. But when you shift your focus back to what's inside, your choices, your responses, your perspective, you find peace again. You start realizing that not everything deserves your reaction. Not everything deserves your explanation. Not everything deserves a seat in your mind. You stop being pulled by every emotional wave that comes your way. You start choosing what gets to stay and what must be released. That is emotional maturity. And do you know what happens when you practice letting go? Life feels lighter. You think clearer. You move smoother. You don't take things as personally. You don't get triggered as quickly. You don't dwell on what went wrong. You start focusing on what's possible, what's ahead, what's becoming. You finally create space inside yourself for joy, clarity, and strength to grow. You stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from new wisdom. Your heart becomes quieter. Your mind becomes sharper. Your presence becomes steadier. People can feel the difference in you, even if they can't explain it. It's the calm of someone who's not carrying unnecessary battles anymore. Because letting go isn't losing. It's choosing. And it's one of the most powerful choices you will ever make. Because the moment you let go of what's heavy, you rise.